This woman is accidentally transported into a novel. The moment she opens her eyes in this new world, she finds herself in the middle of a raging fire. And furious Duke points his sword at her throat and demands, "Tell me, what did you just see?" The dazed heroine was too scared to even breathe. Did she get transported here just to die all over again? In her past life, the heroine was an ordinary college senior obsessed with a novel called The Death of the Evil Duke Jared. Duke Jared is the book's biggest villain, a brutal tyrant who the story's hero is determined to overthrow. He practices forbidden magic and slaughters anyone who disagrees with him, forcing the Empire's citizens to live under a shadow of terror. Yet despite his cruelty, the heroine sensed an indescribable sadness in him. Jared once had a brief marriage, after which the royal family forced him to marry a princess. Shortly after the wedding, the princess discovered Jared's secret. His treasured child possessed the power of magic, which the world considered a curse. Princess cruelly murdered the child. Driven mad by the loss, Jared executed the princess, launched a rebellion to overthrow the government, and waged war to take revenge on this ignorant world. After finishing the novel, the heroine felt deep sympathy for the Duke, and even wished she could change his tragic fate. As she was heading back to her apartment, novel in hand, she smelled thick smoke. The room next door was on fire. She frantically pushed open the door to check, and saw a small child standing in the middle of the flames. Seeing a chandelier swaying precariously above the child's head, she dove to shield him. The next second, the crystal chandelier crashed to the floor, shattering into pieces. A system notification echoed in her mind. Tyrant rescue game initiated. Welcome, host, to the world of the death of the evil Duke Jared. You will now become the character Brianna. The heroine's mission is to change Jared's world, destroying fate within 90 days. If she succeeds, she returns to her world. If she fails, she will die for good. She never thought the casual wish she made would actually come true. The heroine screamed internally, "No way! Reading about a tyrant and facing him in real life are two totally different things." But in front of her, a giant success rate dial appeared, the needle pointing grimly at 15%. Duke Jared stood in the flames, his voice icy. "You saw something you shouldn't have. Only the dead can keep secrets." Faced with death, the heroine's mind raced, recalling the novel's plot and untangling the complex relationship. Brianna was a governess hired by the duchy. Upon arriving, she accidentally witnessed the Duke's son lose control of his magic. The terrified woman was struck by the out-of-control magic and fell into a coma. The heroine, who was supposed to have died in the fire, just happened to transmigrate into Brianna's body at that exact moment. What a thrilling, high-stakes way to start. As the Duke's raised sword was about to fall, Anna screamed, "Your Grace!" Staring at the dial, which now showed only a 15% success rate, Anna racked her brain for a way to plead for her life, but the number just kept dropping. She had no choice but to stall for time, desperately explaining she was just here to apply for the governess position, and had found the young master surrounded by fire as soon as she walked in. The Duke didn't believe a word of it. In his eyes, if Anna hadn't done something, why would his precious son's magic have gone out of control? Just then, the young master in his arms let out a pained cough. The Duke's patience ran out, and the favorability rating plunged to 9%. The system warned Anna that if the rate dropped below 10% and continued to fall to 0%, the world would face an early destruction ending. In this critical moment, Anna yelled, "I have a way to make the young master feel better." The Duke, skeptical, lowered his sword and lifted her chin. "I don't care what tricks you're playing, but you only have one chance." Lying on the sofa, the young master drifted off to sleep to the sound of Anna's singing. The novel mentioned that whenever the young master's magic went out of control, his nanny would sing him this song. Though Anna wasn't sure if she was singing it right, the lyrics were the same, so she hoped it would work. Standing behind her, the Duke stroked his chin thoughtfully. It was the first time his son had calmed down so quickly. It seemed this woman's method actually worked. He noticed that Anna showed no disgust or fear towards his son's magic, and decided to keep her around for observation. Anna saw the success rate finally climb to 11%. Looking at the peacefully sleeping child on the sofa, she smiled in relief and gently stroked his forehead. Suddenly, the Duke called her name, sending a shiver down her spine. With a nervous sweat, she turned and asked, "Is there anything else, Your Grace?" The typically cold, stoic Duke made a solemn announcement. "Congratulations, you're hired. From now on, you will be Damar's governess." The next second, his expression darkened as he thought to himself, "In any case, I have everything under control." Seeing the success rate drop back to 9% for no reason, Anna hugged herself and shivered. Hey, why did it drop back down again? The plan to win over the villainous Duke begins with winning over his adorable son. The heroine Anna spends her days teaching the young master, and the Duke himself never shows up. While she's relieved she doesn't have to deal with the big boss, the success rate has already dropped to 9%. If the Duke doesn't appear, how is she supposed to complete her mission and get back to her world? She really misses hot pot, hot dry noodles, and soup dumplings. The young master stops writing and glances up at his strange new teacher. After a long moment of hesitation, he finally works up the courage to ask, "Teacher Anna, are you going to leave in a few days too?" Anna doesn't understand the question. It turns out that many governesses had come to the manor before, but none of them ever stayed for long. Anna understood immediately. This world despises magic. If anyone were to discover you had magical abilities, even a child could lose their life. To protect his son, Duke Jared had to regularly replace his teachers. Her heart aching for him, Anna cupped the boy's face. "No, I won't. I'll stay with you, young master, until you don't need me anymore." Anna's gentle smile warmed his heart. He took her hand and nodded firmly. "Okay." Just as they were sharing this sweet moment, the door creaked open. The Duke strode towards Anna. The teacher and student were like mice who'd seen a cat, immediately straightening up and pretending to be deep in study. The Duke didn't say a word, but his powerful presence was enough to make Anna feel breathless. Poor Anna kept explaining a problem to the young master, grumbling to herself, "This feels just like getting caught reading novels in class back in the day." Suddenly, the Duke interrupted them, saying that was enough for today's lesson. "It seems Miss Brianna is quite skilled at teaching." Anna was about to humbly say the young master was just smart, but the Duke's intense gaze, scanning her from head to toe, made her lower her head again. "His eyes are terrifying. Did I do something wrong again?" The moment the Duke started to say, "You..." Anna began bowing repeatedly. "I'm sorry, I was wrong. Whatever it is, I'll fix it." She couldn't afford for that last 9% to drop any further. The Duke looked away, a bit awkwardly, and explained that her attire would make outsiders think the duchy had fallen on such hard times that it had to skimp on its teachers' salaries. "Go change out of that dress." A bewildered Anna finally noticed that her dress was not only wrinkled, but also had holes burned in it from the fire on her first day. She scratched her cheek in embarrassment. "This is the only dress I have." The Duke sighed. "Then go to the market and buy some new ones." Penniless Anna was about to speak up, but the Duke magnanimously ordered, "Put it on the duchy's tab." The little gold digger in Anna was doing a happy dance. However, the young master tugged on her sleeve. "You promised you'd play with me after we finished reading yesterday." His sweet, milky voice melted Anna's heart. She bent down, stroked his hair, and happily suggested, "Then why don't we go together?" The words were barely out of her mouth when she realized her huge mistake. She had just suggested taking the young master out in front of the Duke. She must be crazy. To save her own skin, Anna quickly backtracked. "On second thought, buying clothes isn't that urgent. Maybe we should just stay at the manor today." Before she could finish, the young master looked at her with puppy dog eyes. "Teacher, can we really go out and play?" Anna couldn't bear to refuse him and could only turn her gaze to the Duke. The Duke's brow was furrowed in displeasure. Anna stood in the corner like a lamb awaiting slaughter. The Duke crossed his arms and stared at the two of them. He couldn't quite withstand their pleading looks and sighed in resignation. "Fine, you can go together." The teacher and student high-fived in excitement. But the next second, the Duke clarified that he meant he was going with them. At the same time, the favorability dial above his head inexplicably rose to 10%. The market was bustling with activity. Anna carefully held her skirt as she followed behind the Duke. This was the first time she had left the manor since she'd arrived. Although she didn't know why the success rate had suddenly gone up, it felt like things were moving in the right direction. With that thought, she let out a happy little hum. After a few steps, Anna noticed people giving them strange looks. It seemed they were talking about the Duke. The novel had described him this way. The Duke on his throne surveyed his submissive subjects, his wolf-like eyes, bloodthirsty and cold, striking fear into their hearts. It was only natural to be scared after being looked at by someone like that. The Duke, however, paid them no mind and told Anna to keep up. Finally, they arrived at a clothing store. The owner enthusiastically promoted her wares, displaying all the latest season's fashions. The savvy owner pulled out a magnificent gown. "This silk was made by the best weavers in the kingdom of Viat. It's perfect for a young lady like yourself." Anna felt suffocated just looking at such an elaborate dress. It was way too over the top. The owner then presented another gown. "This dress is adorned with beautiful gems from the kingdom of Borgon, a perfect match for your sparkling eyes." Anna felt like her eyes were about to be blinded. She simply couldn't accept this world's bizarre sense of style. Just then, the Duke, standing to the side, declared, "We'll take them all." Anna was horrified. Unexpectedly, the young master casually pointed to another row of dresses. "We'll take all of these too." Before the staff could pack everything up, Anna quickly interrupted the crazy father-son duo. But the moment she opened her mouth, the Duke's favorability dropped by 1%. Even so, Anna pushed on, saying she appreciated the sentiment. But those clothes were far too valuable for someone of her station. Besides, she had to teach the young master, and overly complicated dresses were just not practical. The father and son seriously pictured Anna teaching a class in a socialite's ball gown, and had to admit it was a bit strange. The young master even let out a small laugh. Having thought it through, the Duke agreed with Anna and told her to pick out something she liked. The success rate above his head instantly shot back up to 10%. After leaving the clothing store, Anna suggested they go to a bookstore to get some educational books for the young master, and while they were at it, she could pick up a few books about this world for herself. The Duke didn't object. As they were heading to the bookstore, the Duke's most trusted aide hurried over and whispered something in his ear. After hearing the aide's report, the Duke seemed to have something urgent to attend to. He told Anna to take the child to the bookstore first and that he would be back soon. After the two walked away, Anna held the young master's hand and continued on. Just then, a handsome man with striking silver hair brushed past her. Not far away, someone called out his name. "Ethan!" Anna turned in surprise and saw that the man not only had flowing silver hair, but also wore a dazzling red magic stone on his ear. These features perfectly matched the novel's description of the male lead. The girl waiting by the bookstore entrance was stunningly beautiful. So these were the original novel's male and female leads, Ethan and Sophia. She couldn't believe that she'd randomly chosen Ethan's bookstore. In the novel, Ethan was a powerful mage who, to avoid detection, opened this bookstore in the market, providing a sanctuary for other mages fleeing persecution. Anna entered the shop, hid her face behind a book, and secretly watched the main couple. Although she couldn't hear what they were saying, she was captivated by their incredible good looks. If she hadn't had the young master with her, this would have been a great opportunity to meet them. Looking at the little boy temporarily left by the desk, Anna sighed deeply. Suddenly, she heard several men talking by a bookshelf. "I heard people from the duchy came to the market today. Rumor has it there's a monster in the Duke's manor. They say you can often hear beastly screams coming from the sealed-off basement." They speculated that the Duke's ability to defeat hundreds on the battlefield and secure his position as the Empire's guardian god might be due to some secret deal with a monster. Anna hid behind the shelf, eavesdropping. It seemed the strange looks at the market weren't directed at the Duke or herself, but because people believed Duke Jared was raising a monster in his mansion. She guessed the Duke allowed his family's reputation to be tarnished without stopping the rumors in order to protect his son. Just then, the gossiping men started discussing the young master's origins. "I heard the Duke's first wife died not long after giving birth. Maybe the Duke killed her." Seeing them go too far, Anna couldn't help but rush forward to stop them. But the young master, standing behind her, lost control of his magic again out of anger, his body enveloped in a purple magical aura. The young master's magic went wild again, and the Duke happened to be away. What was she to do? Anna had been so focused on eavesdropping that she hadn't noticed when the young master left the reading area. Seeing the child surrounded by a purple magical aura, Anna rushed forward, wanting to get him away. The young master's magic could absolutely not be seen by outsiders. There were too many people at the market, so they couldn't go outside. That meant they had to hide somewhere in the bookstore. Anna looked around and realized the small shop had no place to hide. Suddenly, an idea struck her. In the novel, to deal with emergencies, Ethan had set up a portal to his magic lab inside the bookstore. The trigger had to be around here somewhere. Unfortunately, the gossiping men started up again, this time about the young master's parentage. If the Duke made a deal with a monster, could the child he had also be a monster? The heart-wrenching words made Anna flinch. She turned around angrily, glaring at them. But the men continued. "Come to think of it, no one's ever actually seen the Duke's son. Could he really be a little monster?" The young master, already enveloped in magic, couldn't contain his fury any longer after hearing these vile words. He gritted his teeth and muttered, "Nonsense! You're all talking nonsense." As he spoke, a massive wave of magical energy swept through the entire bookstore, knocking over nearby shelves like an explosion and sending books flying. In that critical moment, Anna dashed into the center of the storm and hugged the child. No one could see his magic. She shielded him with her body, her eyes darting around, searching for the portal switch. When she saw a book with the letter S on it, Anna pressed it without hesitation. The next second, they vanished into thin air. The people who were drawn by the sound of the explosion arrived to find the area empty, leaving them utterly confused. The heroine, Sophia, asked Ethan worriedly, "You felt that just now, didn't you?" Of course, Ethan had felt it. The commotion was caused by a powerful magical fluctuation. The image of Anna's furtive behavior flashed in his mind. Could she be the one who used the magic? The gossipers, who were the cause of all this, pointed behind the bookshelf in terror. "We definitely heard a child's voice just now, but suddenly they're gone." Hearing this, Ethan knew something was wrong. He went to the portal switch and saw that it had indeed been tampered with. Meanwhile, Anna, who had been transported to the magic lab, held the child and breathed a sigh of relief. In the novel, Ethan had hidden the lab's entrance switch in a special book. You had to press the letter on the book hard in a specific sequence to open the magic portal. Anna looked down and gently stroked the young master's face. Thank goodness she was in time and his identity hadn't been exposed. But the child had fainted from the magical outburst. A guilt-ridden Anna apologized silently in her heart for not taking better care of him. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the dim room. Anna instinctively tightened her hold on the child. To her surprise, the person who had come to investigate was the male lead, Ethan. Ethan wore a white mask and a black cloak, looking exceptionally mysterious. Only then did Anna realize the gravity of the situation. Oh no, the way to enter this lab was still a secret. If Ethan asked her how she got in, what could she possibly say? Taking the child out for the first time, Anna encountered a major crisis. As the male lead, Ethan, approached step by step, Anna was so nervous she could barely swallow. But the next second, Ethan's face lit up with an almost fanatical excitement. How did you control such powerful magic? You must tell me. Anna was taken aback for a moment. This seemingly cool man was actually a total dork. Ethan was still starry-eyed like a little fanboy, convinced that Anna must be an incredibly powerful mage to have used such strong magic to open the portal. Not knowing what strange things Ethan was imagining, Anna quickly waved her hands. No, it's not like that. Just then, the young master in her arms let out a pained whimper, a single tear rolling from the corner of his eye. He seemed to be getting worse. Remembering that Ethan was the most powerful mage in the novel, Anna knelt on the floor, her face full of sincerity. Please help this child, I'm begging you. Seeing her pitiful state, Ethan cleared his throat, embarrassed. His long, elegant fingers gently rested on the young master's forehead. A golden magic circle appeared, and as healing magic flowed into the child's body, Anna smiled in relief. Ethan was genuinely trying to heal him. Just as the novel said, Ethan was a very kind and righteous person. A few minutes later, the young master's expression relaxed. His furrowed brow finally smoothed out, and he fell into a deep sleep on Anna's lap. During the treatment, Ethan discovered that the child had fainted from magical exhaustion. So, that means the magical fluctuation from before was caused by this child losing control? Anna quickly nodded to clear up the misunderstanding, and Ethan looked a bit dejected. In his imagination, Anna was a powerful archmage. But the truth was, it was all because of this unassuming child. However, the next second, Ethan seemed to realize something and looked up. But if you're not a mage, how did you know the way to get in here? This deadly question made Anna freeze on the spot. Her eyes darted around as her mind raced. How was she supposed to explain this to Ethan? If she confessed she learned it from a novel, he'd probably think she was crazy and kill her, right? Unable to come up with a good idea, Anna decided to wing it, stammering, "It was all an accident." Ethan saw right through her lie. Lying to a mage is not a wise choice. Anna's heart filled with guilt. Ethan had just saved the young master, yet here she was, about to lie to him. How could she do such a thing? Seeing the complex emotions in her eyes, Ethan guessed, is it for the child's sake? Just as he was about to ask something else, the Duke's furious voice echoed from the bookstore. "Search! Don't miss a single spot!" The chaotic footsteps of a group of men followed. At the same time, alarm bells went off in Anna's head as the system notified her, the success rate for capturing the Duke is dropping rapidly. It has reached the critical value of 6%. In her panic, Anna blurted out the young master's identity to Ethan. Hearing that the child in her arms was the Duke's son, Ethan was shocked. At this point, Anna couldn't worry about anything else. To get Ethan's help, she had to show him enough sincerity. Ethan fell silent for a moment, then raised his hand and placed a magical seal on Anna. A burst of golden magic flowed into her, and a large question mark appeared above her head. "What is this?" Ethan explained with a serious expression that he would let her go for now, but he had planted a magical mark on her. If she told anyone about this place, there would be terrible consequences. The moment he finished, he started to panic, worrying if he had sounded too harsh and scared her. Anna, however, wasn't bothered at all. Instead, she was curious why Ethan seemed even more nervous than she was. As Ethan tried to reassure Anna, she covered her mouth and laughed. "Are you threatening me?" The girl's teasing made Ethan blush. He pretended to be serious and said, "This is a warning." Anna was amused by his attempt to act mature. To her, Ethan was like a cat in a tiger's skin, not scary at all. Ethan was completely baffled by Anna's strange reaction and stared at her with wide, pitiful eyes. "What are you laughing at?" There was no time to waste. Anna gave Ethan a playful salute, promising she would never reveal what happened here. Before leaving, she earnestly promised Ethan that she would tell him the truth about how she got in the next time they met. Ethan smiled and agreed, once again gathering a ball of golden magic in his palm and sending the two of them away. Meanwhile, the Duke and his men had surrounded the bookstore. The two gossiping men claimed they saw a child being taken away by a woman. Recalling how Anna had insisted on coming to the bookstore right before the child disappeared, the Duke's favorability dropped another 1%. He ordered his aide to take the two witnesses back to the manor for a personal interrogation. In just a few seconds, the Duke's favorability dropped again, reaching a dangerous 4%. Just then, Anna teleported back, appeared holding the child. She anxiously explained that the young master had felt a bit unwell, so she had taken him to a quiet room to rest. Staring at Anna's breathless state, the Duke asked suspiciously, what exactly was wrong with him? That moment, his success rate was only 4%. Anna told herself not to panic, to calm down. She had to make the Duke understand why she took the child away, or his anger would surely burn her to ashes. Trembling, Anna explained, the young master suddenly felt unwell, just like last time. The Duke immediately caught the key point. Like last time? Anna nodded guiltily. She looked at the Duke's face expectantly, hoping he would understand her hint. After a moment of silence, the Duke ordered his aide to take everyone and return to the manor immediately. At the same time, the success rate dial let out a ding and rose back to 5%. Anna had nightmares all night and woke up with a splitting headache. Recalling yesterday's events, her heart still pounded with fear. After handing the unconscious child over to the doctor, the Duke hadn't confronted her on the spot. He just told her to go rest and said nothing else. The thought of facing the Duke's interrogation today made Anna tremble. Just then, the butler knocked on her door, saying the Duke requested her presence in his study immediately. It was exactly what she had feared. Anna mustered her courage and went to the study, where the Duke was busy at his desk. He looked up and noticed she hadn't even changed, standing before him nervously in her nightgown. Anna spoke first, asking if he needed something. Seeing the dark circles under the Duke's eyes, she knew he had interrogated the witnesses all night. Now it was her turn. As expected, the Duke spoke calmly. I've already questioned the people from the bookstore. Anna imagined the Duke might have killed them all, and slammed her hands on the desk, shouting, what did you do to them? The Duke was startled by her outburst. The butler, standing by, explained on the Duke's behalf that the people brought back yesterday had all been sent home. Hearing this, Anna froze, clenching her little fists in disbelief and muttering, no torture? The butler was amused by her reaction. It was all a big misunderstanding. The Duke, sitting upright, steepled his fingers and stared intently at Anna. Don't you owe me an explanation? Looking at the 5% success rate above his head, Anna didn't dare to breathe. The system had said that if the rate dropped to 0, the mission would be considered a failure. She had to be extremely careful. Taking a deep breath, Anna replied, yes, Your Grace. I already know that the young master possesses magic. The Duke was surprised by her frankness and was momentarily at a loss for words. Anna poured out her true feelings. To be unable to live a normal life just because you have magic. To have to hide in a corner, worried about being treated unfairly if your secret is exposed. What has an innocent person like that done wrong? Anna couldn't accept the idea that having magic was an inherent sin. If there was one thing she truly wanted to ask of the Duke, it was to let her stay at the manor. A poor soul with magic needs to be loved sincerely more than anyone. After she finished speaking, the room was silent for a few seconds. The Duke stared blankly at the woman before him. Anna's heart pounded in her chest. Why isn't he saying anything? Did I say something wrong? The next moment, the Duke nonchalantly uttered 2 words. Go back. Anna's eyes widened in disbelief. That's it? Was the Duke not going to punish her? Seeing her at a loss, the Duke asked if she had anything else to say. Realizing she had truly escaped disaster, Anna quickly waved her hands and hurried out of the room. Suddenly, the Duke called out to her. He draped his own jacket over her shoulders and reminded her gently, you should learn some etiquette. As a lady, you shouldn't be running around outside in your nightgown. After Anna left, the Duke leaned against the door, savoring her words. I can't accept the idea that having magic is an inherent sin. At the same time, a familiar purple magical aura swirled in his palm. The success rate dial above his head let out a ding and rose to 12%. The unpredictable Duke even invited her to dine with him. Anna, woken up early by the maids, felt completely dazed and out of place between the father and son. Staring at the Duke calmly eating his meal, Anna decided she couldn't worry about it anymore and reached for a piece of bread, her eyes sparkling. Although she wanted to devour everything in sight, she was stumped by the complicated cutlery, faced with layers of various utensils. She had no idea where to start. The Duke sitting beside her noticed her predicament and frowned with a soft tisk. Just then, his aide rushed in with an urgent document concerning the royal celebration. His Highness hoped the Duke would preside over this year's Harvest Festival. The Harvest Festival was the beginning of all the tragedies in the novel. The festival, which was supposed to go smoothly, had an accident during the performance when a bull suddenly went berserk and charged into the crowd. In the heat of the moment, the Duke saved the imperial princess who was attending the festival, causing her to fall in love with him at first sight. A few months later, the emperor used the Duke's entire family as leverage to force him to marry the princess. Unable to refuse, the Duke held the wedding. And it was this princess who became the catalyst for all the subsequent tragedies. At this thought, a chill ran down Anna's spine, and the fork in her hand clattered to the floor. The Duke looked up. Anna, what's wrong? Flustered, Anna quickly explained that it was just an accident. To her surprise, the Duke then invited her to attend the festival with him. The Emperor wanted the Duke to bring his young son, and since Damar was at an age where he needed to be introduced to society, he would need someone to look after him at the event. It suddenly dawned on Anna if she could also attend the festival. She could find a way to prevent the Duke and Princess from meeting, right? That way she could stop the tragedies from happening, and successfully complete her mission to return to her world. The thought made her ecstatic. She beamed and accepted the Duke's request, secretly vowing to take good care of the young master at the festival, and do everything she could to prevent the terrible future from unfolding. The Duke's impression of Anna was gradually improving, and poor Anna had finally escaped the immediate threat of death. But with the upcoming harvest festival, she couldn't think of any way to stop the Duke and the Princess from meeting. She had been losing sleep over it for days, and she woke up this morning with a terrible headache. Sighing, Anna decided to take a walk in the courtyard to clear her head, only to walk straight into the Duke's solid chest. A clumsy Anna staggered back, rubbing her forehead, and feeling a little intimidated by the tall, imposing figure before her. However, the Duke simply brushed off his wrinkled clothes and asked, "Do you always walk like that?" A guilty Anna quickly apologized, then asked, "Your Grace, why are you back so early?" The Duke had been leaving early and coming home late recently due to festival preparations, so why was he back so soon today? It turned out the Duke had arranged for an etiquette teacher for Anna. For the next few days, a noble lady would be teaching her proper etiquette. The young master had told the Duke about Anna's worried state over the past few days. Remembering how she didn't even know how to use a knife and fork at dinner, Anna covered her face and bowed her head in shame. It was so embarrassing, seeing her looking so dejected. The Duke, for the first time, offered a word of comfort. "No one is born knowing these things. The Viscountess is renowned for her elegance. With her guidance, you'll learn quickly." Realizing the Duke had come back specifically for her sake, a suspicious blush crept onto Anna's face. He had also given her his jacket before. Though he seemed cold, he could be considerate of her feelings. At that moment, Anna began to doubt the novel's depiction of the Duke. Perhaps he was a much better person than she had imagined. Anna's intense gaze made the Duke a little uncomfortable. Under the dappled shade of the trees, Anna smiled and thanked the Duke. Looking at her charming and beautiful face, the Duke's heart stirred, and the success rate dial above his head rose by another 1%. Finally, the day of the harvest festival arrived. Will the well-prepared teacher Anna succeed in preventing the Duke and Princess from meeting? In the novel, they first met at the festival performance. Since the Princess fell for the Duke because of an accident during the show, all Anna had to do was keep the Duke away from the stage when the accident happened to prevent the tragedy from beginning. Although Anna had a detailed plan, as the day arrived, she still felt a sense of unease. The maid's calls brought Anna back from her thoughts. The carriage was here. Watching the golden carriage approach, Anna secretly cheered herself on. For me, for the young master, and for the Duke, I have to do everything I can to stop those things from happening. When the carriage stopped in front of them, the young master shouted excitedly. To their surprise, the person who stepped out of the carriage was the aide. The young master was instantly disappointed, and Anna felt a bit surprised as well. The aide bent down, ruffled the young master's hair, and explained, "His Grace has to give a speech on behalf of the nobility today, so he asked me to accompany you and Miss Anna to the festival market." The next second, Anna and the young master locked eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. "The plan begins." Seeing the two of them standing silently, the aide was confused. The young master spoke first, saying he wanted to wait for his father to go to the market with him and asked if they could take him to his father first. The aide naturally replied, "But His Grace is still working." The young master hesitated for a moment, then glanced at teacher Anna beside him. Anna gave him a nod of encouragement. Blushing, the young master said, "If you don't take me to see father, I'll tell on you." Seeing the young master make such a childish threat with a red face, the aide couldn't help but laugh. He turned and agreed to the young master's request, but he could only take them to wait for the Duke backstage. Whether the Duke would agree, he couldn't guarantee. Backstage was a flurry of activity. Anna held the young master's hand, searching for the Duke. The first step of the plan was complete. She patted the young master's head and praised him. "You did great!" 2 nights ago, while reading him a bedtime story, Anna had made a pact with him to find a way to get the Duke to go to the market with them. If there was one thing that could convince the Duke to skip the festival performance, it was probably a request from his son. The aide sighed at the sight of their excited backs, silently praying the Duke wouldn't be angry with him. The plan to save the Duke was officially underway. Anna and her little helper hid backstage, peeking out from behind the curtain, to watch the Duke giving his speech on stage. It was the young master's first time seeing his father speak in public, and it was also Anna's first time seeing the Duke with such a serious expression. And for a nobleman's speech, it was surprisingly focused on the lives of common people. The aide saw through Anna's thoughts and asked, "Surprising, isn't it? His Grace is the kindest nobleman I have ever met. No one cares more about the common people than he does." Just then, the Duke felt Anna's intense gaze and glanced towards the backstage area. Their eyes met. Anna's heart felt like it had been struck by Cupid's arrow, and a deep blush spread across her face. Embarrassed, Anna quickly pulled the curtain shut. Getting caught staring was so mortifying. As the speech was ending, the aide took the young master's hand to go wait for the Duke in the dressing room. Anna finally snapped out of her flustered state. 10 minutes later, the dressing room was silent. The aide and the young master stared at Anna, who was sitting to the side, and couldn't help but think, "Teacher Anna's face is really red." When the Duke pushed aside the curtain and entered the room, Anna and the young master stood up in excitement. It was time for step 2 of the plan. The aide recounted what had just happened to the Duke. The Duke's expression changed, and he frowned at the two troublemakers. A guilty Anna quickly lowered her head, and the young master looked a bit nervous too. It was only natural for the Duke to be angry that they had disturbed him during such an important event. The next second, the Duke sternly questioned his son, "Is what the aide said true?" The young master, frightened, hid behind Anna and nodded. He explained pitifully that he had never been to an event like this before, so he really wanted to go to the market with his father. The Duke was silent for a moment. Anna's heart was racing. Is the Duke still going to attend the performance? To her surprise, the Duke instructed his aide to go out front and take his place for the rest of the events. After giving his instructions, the Duke walked over to his precious son, bent down, and affectionately ruffled his hair. He said that since he was going to the market with his son, teacher Anna might as well come with them. As he looked up at Anna, the success rate dial above his head rose by another 1%. The Duke took teacher Anna and his precious son to the market, and the three of them looked just like a family. The festival market was incredibly lively, and the young master was completely captivated by all the toys on display at a stall. He happily tugged on the Duke's sleeve. "Father, can I go have a look?" The Duke lovingly agreed at once. Seeing the young master so happy, Anna felt a sense of relief. Just then, the Duke asked out of the blue, "You taught him to do that, didn't you?" Anna froze, her face turning red as she was too shy to speak. So the Duke had figured it out all along. She nodded guiltily, admitting she had taught the young master to say that. Damar knew the Duke was very busy and had never asked him for anything. But in Anna's opinion, he deserved the right to be a little spoiled, just like other children. Before Anna could finish, the Duke suddenly said, "You did well." This made Anna's charming face turn red again. She couldn't believe the Duke approved of what she had done. Not far away, the young master waved at them excitedly, like a child calling for his parents. The Duke and Anna exchanged a knowing look, then quickly looked away in a fluster. Anna was the first to run to the young master's side, holding her skirt and bending down to ask what was wrong. The young master pointed to a man nearby and explained, "This uncle said I can pick anything I like." Anna followed his finger and saw that the people standing there were none other than Ethan and Sophia. The Duke arrived just in time and asked Anna what was happening. Ethan and Sophia pretended not to know Anna and greeted the Duke warmly. The Duke remembered Ethan as the owner of the bookstore. The two men exchanged only a few pleasantries, but the atmosphere seemed to drop to freezing point. On one side was the strongest mage in history, on the other, the most powerful Duke. Anna's mind raced. If they started a fight, what would I do? In reality, the Duke was asking Anna what had happened, which snapped her out of her daydream. Sophia, standing nearby, explained with a radiant smile that Mr. Ethan wanted to give the child a toy as a gift. Looking at the dazzling array of toys, the Duke turned to his son. "Do you like them?" The young master nodded nervously, then mustered his courage and said loudly, "Yes, father." Hearing his son's firm answer, the Duke pointed to the stall behind them and declared magnanimously, "Wrap all of these up." At the same time, the success rate dial above his head rose by another 1%, reaching an unprecedented high of 16%. Anna pressed a hand to her forehead, a bit speechless. The success rate went up during a shopping spree again? What kind of weird system is this? The cold and ruthless villainous Duke was actually a very kind person. Not only did he buy all the toys the orphans were selling, but he also had Sophia give half to the other children and send the rest to the ducal manor. Anna stared at the Duke's face with admiration, understanding that he had been so generous in order to help the orphans. After buying the toys, the Duke picked up his tired son and walked on. The three of them looked like a happy family. On the way back, Anna bought a cotton candy for the young master. However, his hands were full of toys and the Duke was holding him, so neither could take it. Just then, the Duke came up with an idea. "Why don't you have teacher Anna feed it to you?" The young master nodded excitedly. The Duke looked pointedly at Anna and explained, "You were the one who said Damar should learn to be a little spoiled." The young master opened his mouth wide with an "ah," and a blushing Anna fed the cotton candy into his mouth. Seeing the child's satisfied expression, Anna suspected the Duke had said that on purpose. Before they knew it, evening had arrived. The whole experience felt like visiting a temple fair back in her own time. The young master, seeing Anna lost in thought, said in his sweet voice, "I want more!" Anna subconsciously offered the cotton candy in the Duke's direction, not realizing the young master had already jumped down. The cotton candy was now pointed directly at the Duke's face. The intimate scene threw Anna into confusion. She stammered an explanation that she hadn't noticed. Before she could finish, the Duke obediently took a bite of the cotton candy. At that same moment, the Harvest Festival fireworks bloomed behind them, and a budding affection for each other began to grow in their hearts. A blushing Anna looked up at the sky, not understanding why the Duke would do something so misleading. But since the grand finale fireworks show had started, it meant her plan to prevent the Duke and Princess from meeting had succeeded. With that thought, Anna suggested they head back to the manor, as it was getting late. Just then, the sound of urgent hoofbeats approached, and a runaway carriage hurtled straight towards them. The Duke pulled Anna and the child into his arms, narrowly avoiding disaster. When the dust settled, none of them were hurt. A haughty voice rang out, "Who on earth is driving so recklessly in a place like this? That was so dangerous!" Seeing the spoiled, red-haired princess from the novel step out of the carriage, Anna's heart sank. The success rate dial above the Duke's head plummeted to 10%. Was it possible that no matter what she did, she couldn't change the tragic ending of the original novel? The young master's sweet voice calling her name brought Anna back to her senses. She realized she had been distracted since morning. 3 days ago, the princess had met the Duke for the first time at the market. The elegant princess recognized the Duke at once. She first politely apologized for her runaway carriage startling him, then very naturally invited him to a royal family banquet. The Duke had intended to refuse, but the princess, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, used the emperor's name as leverage, forcing the Duke to attend. The Duke frowned in disgust but had no reason to refuse. More than the sharp drop in the Duke's success rate after the princess appeared, Anna was worried that she might not be able to change the novel's ending on her own. If that were the case, then the young Master Damar would soon die at the hands of the princess. The thought filled Anna with terror, and a cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Suddenly, the sensible young master, mimicking Anna, reached out and stroked her hair. "You must be thinking about something very sad, right? It's okay, I'll always be with you." The young master's angelic smile healed Anna's heart. She pulled the child into a tight hug, vowing silently that she would never let anyone harm Damar. Anna changed her strategy and came up with a new plan. In the original story, Damar's magic was discovered by the princess after he lost control at the banquet. If she could just get Damar to learn how to control his magic, she could prevent that from happening. Thinking this, Anna stared into the young master's clear eyes, and a glimmer of hope to change the future was rekindled. Among all the people Anna knew, there was only one person who could help Damar. That day, Anna snuck out of the ducal manor and went to Ithan's bookstore. She hesitated outside, wondering if she should go in. Although the Ithan in the novel was very kind and helped many commoner children with magic, Damar was a nobleman's son. Countless eyes were watching him. Even Ithan might not be willing to take such a risk. Anxious, Anna paced back and forth in front of the shop, her strange behavior attracting the attention of passers-by. After a long hesitation, Anna finally made up her mind. For Damar's sake, she had to overcome all difficulties. When Anna pushed open the bookstore door, she found it empty. She softly called out, "Ithan," but there was no response. Just then, Sophia peeked her head out from behind a bookshelf and greeted Anna with a smile, explaining that she was the only one watching the store today. Ithan wasn't here. Anna was about to leave, but Sophia guessed her intentions. The clever girl held up a finger and said, "I can help with that, you know." Anna was thrilled but remembered another obstacle. She hadn't told the Duke yet, and she didn't know if he would agree. Back at the manor, after much hesitation, Anna knocked on the office door. The Duke was, as usual, busy with his work. Before Anna could speak, he looked up and asked, "You went out today?" It turned out the young master couldn't find her and had gone to the Duke to ask where she was. Trembling, Anna explained that she had gone to find a new teacher for the young master. The Duke thought Anna wanted to quit and said with confusion, "Damar doesn't need a new teacher. You've been doing a great job." Misunderstood, Anna blurted out, "A magic teacher." The words were barely out of her mouth when she felt she had made a huge mistake. The Duke, in his anger, snapped the pen in his hand with a crack. "What did you say?" he demanded. Anna was terrified by the Duke's furious gaze. She collected herself slightly and confessed that the bookstore owner she met was actually a very powerful mage. If Mr. Ithan could teach the young master to control his magic, then Damar wouldn't lose control anymore. Before Anna could finish, the Duke slammed his hand on the desk and roared, "How dare you tell anyone Damar's secret? Who else have you told?" The Duke's murderous glare made Anna tremble. Not knowing Ithan, the Duke feared they would spread his son's secret. Anna's actions this time had crossed a line. As a governess, her duty was to take care of Damar, not to meddle in the Duke's family affairs. The thoughtless Anna wanted to say more, but the Duke didn't want to hear another word. He rested his weary head in his hand and told her to leave. He said the matter was closed and the duchy would handle the rest. Having his bottom line crossed, the Duke was completely disappointed in Anna. He decided the young master no longer needed a teacher, neither a governess nor a magic teacher. His words were like a thunderclap, a death sentence for Anna's future. You can go. As the Duke spoke, the success rate dial plummeted from 10% to 0%. On the verge of death, an image of the young master crying in despair flashed in Anna's mind. She struggled to breathe as the system's warning blared in her ears. Mission nearing failure. Punishment commencing. The system warned her that she was about to die and would never be able to return to her world. In that critical moment, Anna, dragging her dying body, asked the Duke with a trembling voice, "Are you going to keep the young master locked up in this manner for the rest of his life? He's only a 5-year-old child. In the future, he should be soaring high under the Stewart family name, not be caged by his own father, and become a bird with broken wings." The Duke was momentarily speechless. Anna, supporting her agonized body, walked out of the office. Before she left, she turned back and said, "Do you really know what he needs?" With a click, the door shut, and Anna collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. Outside, a heavy rain was falling, the gloomy weather matching her mood. She didn't understand why, after trying so hard to change things, this was the result. Being kicked out of the manor was a death sentence. The rain soaked her face, mingling with her tears. She felt utterly pathetic. It was a predetermined ending, yet she had foolishly thought she could change it. From the moment she entered the novel, there was never a way back. The desperate girl leaned on the railing and wept. A bolt of lightning tore across the sky, followed by a loud clap of thunder. Anna realized something was off. After she said those last words, the punishment had stopped. She was still alive. Did that mean the success rate hadn't actually hit 0%? Was there still a chance? At this thought, Anna sniffled, wiped away her tears, and felt a spark of hope ignite in her heart. If she just kept trying, maybe the Duke would change his mind. Drenched by the rain, Anna felt a chill run through her. She rubbed her arms, pulling herself out of her sorrow. First things first, she needed to get back to her room and out of the rain. Just then, Anna looked up and saw a dazzling bright light burst from Damar's room. Guessing that Damar was having another magical outburst, Anna ran breathlessly up the stairs, bumping right into the Duke, who was also on his way to check on the situation. The Duke's expression was grim, and Anna thought he was still angry. With a bang, the door flew open. The young master was huddled in a corner, clutching his head in pain. The magic within him erupted like lightning. The Duke called out his son's name, but Damar remained unconscious. Suddenly, Anna rushed into the center of the magical vortex, enduring the piercing pain to hug the young master, whispering in his ear, "Don't be afraid, it's okay, I'll protect you." The immense pain brought tears to Anna's eyes. Her flawless white face was cut by the magic, and a trickle of red blood ran down her cheek. Just then, the Duke slowly reached out his hand and absorbed all of Damar's magic into his own body. Only then did Anna understand the Duke was a mage too. After the Duke had absorbed the wild magic, the young master fell into a deep sleep. Anna followed the silent Duke out of the room. Her mind was filled with questions. The novel had never mentioned that the Duke could also use magic. Now that she had stumbled upon this secret, was the Duke going to take her somewhere to get rid of her? Anna was filled with terror as the Duke led her to an unfamiliar room. As the door opened, the Duke finally spoke. "Anna, come in." Stepping into the dilapidated room, Anna felt a chill creep up from her feet. How could the ducal manor have such an old, neglected place? It looked like no one had been here in a long time. At this thought, Anna shivered, certain the Duke was planning to kill her. But he wasn't wearing his sword today, nor did he seem to have prepared any poison. Was he going to kill her with magic? Suddenly, the Duke pulled open the curtains, and the bright moonlight flooded the room. Under the huge floor-to-ceiling window, the Duke's back seemed small and lonely. Anna stared at his desolate figure, sensing an unspoken sadness. Could the powerful Duke also have such sorrowful moments? The Duke looked out the window and murmured, "This was my old room, the room they used to imprison me in." It turned out the Duke's childhood was even more tragic than his son's. Because he was born with magic, his parents saw him as a curse and locked him away in this small room. Before he could learn to suppress his own magic, this room was his entire world. Anna picked up a worn-out teddy bear from the floor, her heart filled with mixed emotions. Was this the Duke's childhood? No toys, no love, only struggling against his own innate power over and over in this room. She carefully dusted off the bear and held it in her arms. Looking up at the Duke, she asked, "Why are you telling me this secret?" The Duke didn't know why either. He recalled Anna's actions over the past few days. It was the same at the bookstore that day. She was just a governess, yet she would risk her life for Damar. For some reason, the Duke believed that her words came from the heart. At this thought, the Duke's gaze became firm. He decided to be impulsive for once. Perhaps this time the outcome would be different. The Duke struggled to say the words. About earlier, I'm sorry. Anna was completely bewildered by the Duke's sudden apology. The Duke stood there, staring straight at her like a child who had done something wrong. A flustered Anna quickly explained that it was her own rashness to find a magic teacher for the young master. But she was truly thinking of his future. Before Anna could finish, the Duke cut her off. Let's do as you said. In a major turnaround, the success rate for capturing the Duke shot up from 1% to 20%. The next morning, both Ethan and Sophia arrived at the ducal manor. Seeing the Duke's dark and intimidating expression, they couldn't help but shiver. The three of them stood in the room without a word, the atmosphere incredibly awkward. The Duke's death glare made Ethan feel like he was here for an interrogation, not to teach a class. Just then, the door creaked open, and Anna appeared with the young master dressed in a rose-pink gown. Anna politely greeted everyone. Damar, these are your new teachers. Before she could finish, she felt 3 intense gazes on her. She sighed and pressed a hand to her forehead. She knew it would turn out like this. Although the Duke had agreed to find a magic teacher for his son, he had one condition: he would attend the lessons with the child. To protect his son, the Duke decided to be the shield. In his view, this was the safest approach. Looking at the grim atmosphere in the room, Anna broke into a cold sweat, and had no choice but to try and liven things up. She bent down and asked the young master with a smile, Damar is very excited for his lesson, right? The young master hesitated, then asked, Can we start now? The Duke nodded. Begin. Finally, the lesson could start. Anna was full of confidence, clenching her fists and cheering herself on. She believed that with the teacher's guidance, the young master would quickly learn to control his magic. The angelic Damar recognized Ethan and Sophia at once as the big brother and sister he had met at the festival. The polite boy thanked them with a smile, saying he loved the toys they had given him, and promised to be a good student. Ethan smiled and bowed to the young master. In that case, let's begin. To their surprise, the Duke suddenly cleared his throat twice. Ethan interrupted, didn't know what the Duke wanted. The Duke stared at Ethan, a terrifying purple magical aura flaring in his eyes. His next words nearly made Ethan faint on the spot. Your student is me. In the room, Sophia closed her eyes and condensed a ball of golden magic in her palm. This small magic sphere was what concentrated magic from within the body looked like. Damar's eyes widened in amazement, exclaiming how amazing his teacher was. The first lesson for this pair was off to a harmonious start. In contrast, the atmosphere on the other side was a bit heavy. Ethan and the Duke stared at each other in silence. Anna couldn't help but chuckle at the stark difference between the two scenes. At least the lesson had started. Ethan carefully condensed magic in his palm, demonstrating and explaining that creating a magic sphere was the first step in learning to control magic. However, the Duke wasn't listening at all, his attention completely on his son. The strict Ethan had to remind him, Could you please focus? Just then, Anna came over to Ethan's side and praised him. That's amazing! The Duke's competitive spirit was instantly ignited. With a displeased look, he condensed an even larger magic sphere in his palm. Anna clapped and cheered, praising the Duke as well. The two men started competing like children. Ethan waved his hand, making the magic hover in mid-air, thinking to himself, You can't do this, can you? To his surprise, the Duke, after watching the demonstration just once, mimicked him by condensing his own magic into the shape of a squid and making it float in the air. Ethan was shocked by the Duke's incredible learning ability. You've got to be kidding me. This man doesn't look like he's learning to control magic for the first time. But if a mage had taught the Duke before, there should have been some record of it, and he had never heard any such news. The young master and Sophia were also captivated by the Duke and applauded, saying he was amazing. The Duke, buoyed by the praise, got a little carried away. He held his son in his arms and used magic to write his beloved son's name in the air. The young master was delighted and begged his father to write teacher Anna's name next. By evening, the magic lesson was finally over. Sophia reluctantly stroked the young master's head and said goodbye. The young master, afraid his teacher wouldn't come back tomorrow, clung to Sophia's sleeve, not letting her go. Only after she promised she would come back the next day did he happily wave goodbye. Anna hadn't expected the day to go so smoothly. She felt a surge of joy. The success rate for capturing the Duke was back up to 20%. It seemed everything was heading in the right direction. Meanwhile, in her palace, the princess was writing an invitation to the Duke. She sincerely invited him to attend a royal family banquet with his son in 3 days. After finishing the letter, a sinister smile played on her vibrant red lips. The young master successfully controlled his magic for the first time. Under the watchful eyes of his two magic teachers and Anna, a golden magic sphere slowly formed in his palm. Days of teaching had finally paid off. The 3 teachers were ecstatic, and the young master happily hugged Anna, cheering that he had finally done it. Unfortunately, the Duke wasn't there today, which left the young master a little disappointed. Anna knelt down and stroked his head, comforting him. It's okay. When the Duke gets here, he'll be proud of you too. Sophia chimed in. Let's practice hard now so you can do it perfectly in front of the Duke later, okay? The innocent boy's sadness vanished, and he nodded with sparkling, expectant eyes. This was the first time the Duke had missed a lesson. Anna wondered what could have happened to keep him away from his beloved son. Just then, a knock came at the door and the aide entered. It turned out the Duke had sent him to bring the young master and Anna to his office. A sense of foreboding washed over Anna. What could be so urgent? She couldn't guess, so she could only apologize and say goodbye to Sophia and Ethan. As the door closed, Sophia's expression suddenly turned grim. Following the aide, Anna was filled with worry. Is it about Damar's lessons? If so, the Duke wouldn't have chosen this time to discuss it. Before she knew it, they arrived at the office. A tall, unfamiliar guard was standing at the door. The aide politely introduced them. Before Anna could greet the guard, he looked coldly at the aide and complained, "You've kept the master waiting too long." Realizing she had been ignored, Anna was a bit surprised. The aide led the young master into the room. Just as Anna was about to follow, the guard blocked her with his arm and said in an extremely cold tone, "The master only requested the aide and the young master to enter." His icy gaze swept over Anna, as if looking down on a commoner like her. The aide started to speak up for Anna, but then swallowed his words and apologetically told her to go back. Anna quickly waved her hand, signaling that she was fine. She was confused. Who was the master the guard was talking about? The young master didn't want to leave teacher Anna and stood at the door, looking back reluctantly. Anna patted his shoulder and encouraged him, "Don't be afraid. Go on in. I'll be waiting for you outside." As the guard turned to enter with the aide, Anna caught a glimpse of the sword at his waist. The combination of the kingdom's crown and the guardian's shield was a symbol of the royal family in the novel. Before the door closed, Anna vaguely saw a red-haired man sitting inside. Someone who could come and go freely in the ducal manner, be personally received by the Duke, and even intimidate his aide. With that striking red hair, which member of the royal family could it be? A mysterious and distinguished guest had arrived at the ducal manor, and Anna was barred from entering. Anxious, Anna paced back and forth in the hallway. In the novel, the main culprit behind Damar's tragic death, the princess, had sent a royal messenger with an invitation to force the Duke to attend a banquet. If the Duke took the young master, Damar's magical abilities would be completely exposed. Anna shook her head, trying to reassure herself. Damar has made a lot of progress. He just needs to learn to control his magic before then. Lost in her worries, Anna almost walked into a pillar. Thankfully, Sophia shouted from behind her, "Watch out!" Anna turned in surprise, relieved she had avoided a collision, and wondered why Sophia was here. It turned out that during the lesson upstairs, Sophia had noticed Anna was distracted and had followed her out of concern. Seeing Anna pacing alone in the hallway, Sophia asked curiously, "Weren't you going to see the Duke? Why are you out here?" Anna stammered an explanation that the Duke seemed to be entertaining a nobleman, and that person felt her presence was inappropriate. Sophia was surprised by this answer. "Haven't you and the Duke announced your relationship yet?" she asked, puzzled. Anna didn't understand what Sophia was talking about and asked blankly, "What do you mean?" Sophia said coyly, "Aren't you and the Duke a couple?" This made Anna jump in shock. Sophia insisted, "If you're a couple, it's perfectly normal for you to be there. Why would it be inappropriate?" Anna's face turned beet red as she waved her hands, explaining that she and the Duke were not in that kind of relationship at all. But Sophia was convinced she was right. Both the Harvest Festival and the magic lessons were your ideas, and just now the Duke asked you to go with Damar. Before Sophia could finish, Anna sighed and pressed a hand to her forehead. In her view, it was all because she was Damar's governess. Sophia rested her chin on her hand, looking perplexed. But other governesses don't receive this kind of treatment, do they? Besides, the Duke isn't a gentle person, but he's always so accommodating with you. Hearing Sophia's words, Anna suddenly realized that the Duke had indeed been exceptionally considerate towards her. The next second, Anna shook her head vigorously, patting her cheeks to snap herself out of it. The Duke? Like me? I must be overthinking things. Sophia stood behind Anna, her cheerful expression fading into a dark one, her eyes filled with jealousy. She let out a cold laugh. A girl like Miss Anna is truly enviable. Finally, the day of the royal banquet arrived. The Duke decided to bring both his precious son and Anna along. Early in the morning, the aide had the carriage ready and waiting at the entrance. When it was time to leave, the aide urged the Duke to get in, but the Duke just stared at the entrance and said, "Let's wait a little longer." Realizing the Duke was waiting for Anna, the aide asked with confusion, "Miss Anna is not on the invitation list." The Duke didn't care. He shot the aide a cold look. "Can't you handle a small matter like this?" Just then, the crisp sound of high heels echoed, and Anna made her grand entrance in a gorgeous pale purple gown, a matching pearl necklace adorning her neck. She apologized breathlessly for being late. The young master, with a child's honesty, let out a wow upon seeing the radiant teacher, Anna. "Teacher, you look so beautiful today." The aide chimed in. "You look truly stunning." Only the Duke remained silent, turning away with a blush and saying gruffly, "Let's go." 2 carriages, one after the other, made their way to the palace. Anna sat in the carriage, so awkward she barely dared to breathe. How did I end up in the same carriage as the Duke again? Nervous and curious, Anna couldn't help but ask if she wasn't supposed to be in the same carriage as the young master. The Duke put down his book and looked her in the eye, his expression serious. "Before we arrive, there are a few things I need to go over with you." Although Damar had a basic grasp of controlling his magic, this was his first time attending a large banquet. Anna listened and nodded, jotting everything down in a small notebook. The Duke paused, then added gently, "And you don't need to be nervous." This sudden show of concern made Anna's heart skip a beat. The shy Duke looked out the window and explained, "With me there, most people won't want to offend the Stuart family, so just stay by my side." The next second, Sophia's words from a few days ago popped into her head. "The Duke values you very much." The thought made her blush instantly. Her mind went blank and she shot up from her seat, clenching her fists and declaring loudly, "You can count on me! I won't bring any shame to the Stuart family." Just then, a wheel hit a stone on the road and the carriage lurched. Anna lost her balance and hit her head on the window. Seeing the woman across from him rubbing her head and wincing in pain, the Duke let out a fond, soft laugh. It was the first time the Duke had ever smiled in front of Anna. A confused Anna stared at him, rubbing her head. Is me being clumsy that funny? Unexpectedly, the system's voice, unheard for a while, sounded in her ear. Success rate for capturing the Duke has increased by 1%. The royal banquet officially began. Anna followed closely behind the Duke and the young master. The grand hall was filled with people and nobles danced gracefully to the music. Anna's eyes widened. It was like a scene from a movie. As soon as the Duke entered, nobles flocked to greet him. Seeing the young master, the young lords and ladies immediately gathered around him, chattering and praising him with respectful yet flattering words. Some even tried to invite the Duke to visit their estates. Poor Anna was trapped in the crowd, trembling, not knowing what to say. She carefully shuffled her feet and finally managed to slip out of the throng. She let out a long sigh of relief. To her surprise, the young master was handling the situation much better than she had expected. Once the nobles finished their greetings, "I'll take him somewhere quiet." Just then, an elegant woman in a dark green gown called out to Anna. The noblewoman assumed Anna was a lady from the Stuart family and came over to chat. Anna was about to correct her when a young lady behind the woman interrupted. The gossipy girl mentioned she had seen Anna get out of the same carriage as the Duke, so Anna must be a lady from a prominent family. The noble ladies exchanged knowing glances and surrounded Anna, showering her with compliments about her dress and her flawless skin. The leading noblewoman asked again about Anna's relationship with the Duke. "We haven't seen His Grace accompany a lady in a very long time." Anna stammered that she was the governess of the ducal manor. The moment the words left her mouth, the room fell silent for a few seconds. The smile on the noblewoman's face instantly turned to disdain. She said with a mocking tone, "You must have worked very hard to get that position. Do enjoy this wonderful moment. We won't disturb you." With that, she and the other ladies turned and left. Anna was speechless at their snobbery. Sure enough, their attitude changed the moment they learned she wasn't from the Stuart family. But then she thought, maybe it was for the best. With no one bothering her, she could keep a better eye on Damar. Suddenly, a guard at the entrance announced, "Her Highness Princess Elena has arrived." A princess in a magnificent red gown entered with a smile, gracefully holding her skirt. Anna looked over and finally saw the woman from the novel who, for her own selfish desires, pushed the entire world toward destruction. The princess descended the stairs holding a man's hand. The man beside her, with the same red hair and a sinister gaze, was the crown prince mentioned in the novel. So it was the crown prince who had delivered the invitation to the manor that day. It seemed the siblings were very close. In the novel, the crown prince's cruelty was on par with his father's. If she had to make an enemy of someone like that because of the princess, the difficulty would be immense. As Anna was lost in thought, the princess brushed past her and walked straight to the Duke. She extended her hand and greeted him. "Welcome to my banquet." The smile on the princess's face couldn't hide the viciousness in her eyes. The way she looked at the Duke was like a snake eyeing its prey. They talked for a long time while Anna stood by, watching over the young master. Surprisingly, the princess didn't seem as malicious as described in the novel. She actually seemed quite approachable. The young master held the Duke's hand, his eyes fixed on the platters of food being carried by the servants. The Duke looked down at him fondly. "Want some?" The young master nodded with anticipation. Just then, Anna caught the princess's expression shift from gentle and kind to one of disgust and loathing in an instant. But when the Duke turned back to her, she was all smiles again. Her face changed faster than flipping a page. Having witnessed this, Anna couldn't help but wonder if the woman's kindness was all an act. At that moment, the princess's wine glass tilted slightly. Seeing the red liquid about to spill on the young master, Anna quickly bumped into the princess, shouted, "Stop!" and shielded the boy in her arms. The Duke was surprised by Anna's reaction, while Anna stared warily at the princess. A maid beside the princess cried out, "You! How dare you bump into the noble princess?" But the princess was calm. She put down her glass and even scolded the maid for frightening the child. She smiled gently, covering her mouth, and asked Anna if she was scared. Her kind demeanor made Anna wonder again if the princess hadn't been trying to spill the wine on Damar after all. Was she just being overly nervous? At this thought, Anna lowered her head in shame, her words coming out in a stutter. The Duke stepped in front of her and explained, "This is Damar's governess, Miss Anna. She is just very concerned about Damar and meant no offense to the princess." Anna followed the Duke's lead, apologizing profusely. The princess acted magnanimously, saying that Miss Anna must be nervous, as it was her first time at such a banquet. But then her tone shifted. "It's quite surprising that the Duke would bring a governess to a banquet," she said. "Are you worried you won't be able to look after the young lord? I have many experienced maids here." Before she could finish, the Duke cut her off. "There's no need to trouble the princess." The princess's gaze on Anna became meaningful. Anna's heart pounded. She felt something was very strange about the princess. Even when she put down the wine glass, it was just inches away from spilling on Damar. It seemed the princess was constantly trying to find a way to get Damar to leave. A maid reminded the princess it was time to prepare for her speech. Before leaving, the princess met Anna's eyes and said with an icy tone, "It seems the Duke trusts Miss Anna a great deal." As she passed Anna, the princess thought to herself, "Anna can't hide what she's thinking." After the princess left, Anna finally breathed a sigh of relief. The young master tugged on her sleeve and asked dejectedly, "Teacher Anna, did I do something wrong?" The sensitive boy could feel that the princess didn't like him. Anna ruffled his hair and comforted him. "Our Damar has been so well behaved today. I'm sure the Duke thinks so too, right?" They both turned to the Duke expectantly. "Right, Your Grace?" The Duke nodded fondly. "You did very well." At the same time, the success rate dial above his head rose to 22%. The success rate was climbing rapidly, and Anna forgot her earlier fear, her face filled with satisfaction. Seeing his son beaming with Anna, the Duke looked away, a little embarrassed, and told her to go take care of her dress. The wine-stained fabric clung to her, making it slightly transparent and accentuating her figure. Anna apologized shyly and said she would go clean it up and be right back. However, the red wine stain was stubborn. Anna rinsed it with water several times, but it wouldn't come out. She regretted bumping into the princess. She had almost gotten herself killed. Knowing the princess's personality, she would surely hold a grudge. Anna couldn't help but worry about her future. Just then, she heard someone outside mention the young master's name. Wary, Anna turned and saw the two maids who had been with the princess earlier. A bad feeling washed over her, and she followed them to see what was going on. The two maids went to the balcony to report to the princess. The princess, her earlier friendly demeanor gone, asked coldly how things were going. The maids respectfully replied that everything was arranged. The princess was still fuming about what had happened earlier. Her face was dark as she complained about that annoying tag-along who had kept her from bonding with the Duke. Once the obstacle between her and the Duke was gone, no one could disturb them. Once the Emperor arranged their marriage, everything would be as she wished. Hiding in the bushes, Anna was terrified. The princess was really going to harm the young master. In her shock, she accidentally made a sound, causing the princess to walk towards the bushes. Just in the nick of time, a maid reported that everything was ready and they should go have a look. Hiding in the bushes, Anna let out a sigh of relief, thinking she was about to be discovered. Once she was sure no one was around, she stood up. She had to get back and take the young master away immediately. But the next second, a sharp, familiar voice called out, "Well, well, I thought it was a rat that had snuck in, but it's you." Anna whipped her head around and saw that the princess hadn't left at all. Anna overheard the princess's secret plan to get rid of the young master and was caught red-handed. In the dim courtyard, Anna appeared calm on the surface, but inside she was panicking. "Oh no, the princess is going to kill me, isn't she?" She tried to act casual and slip away, but the princess stared at her with a fierce gaze. "I didn't realize you were so naive as to think you could just walk away after eavesdropping." The princess's sharp eyes terrified Anna. "She really is going to kill me. I was just starting to make progress with the Duke, and now I'm going to die here?" If she couldn't tell the Duke what she had heard, the young master would be in danger. Seeing Anna's helpless state, the princess's attitude suddenly changed. "I really don't know what the Duke sees in you," she said cryptically. In this critical moment, Anna decided to take a gamble. She mustered her courage and said, "Your Highness, you must be aware that I am the governess of the ducal manor. I am here on the Duke's orders to check the weather on the balcony, so I can take the young master to the back garden to play." I have been gone for some time now, and I imagine the Duke will send someone to look for me soon. The princess sneered. And what if you were to have an accident on the balcony? Anna remained calm and replied confidently, If I were to have an accident while in your presence, I'm afraid the Duke might grow suspicious of you. This hit the princess's weak spot. In the novel, the princess, who had gone to great lengths to pursue the Duke, would never allow herself to be tainted in his eyes. This was her fatal flaw, and it was Anna's only chance. The air was silent for a few seconds. Anna held her breath. After a moment, the princess's laughter echoed in the quiet courtyard. Her aggressive attitude vanished. It seems this was all a misunderstanding, she said with a smile. Anna knew she had her cornered. She curtsied and turned to leave. The princess stared at her back and added meaningfully, Go on then. Don't keep the Duke waiting. If you can find him, that is. Back in the ballroom, Anna searched frantically for the Duke. If the princess found out she hadn't returned to the Duke immediately, who knew what she might do? In her haste, Anna accidentally bumped into a maid. The maid didn't apologize and quickly disappeared into the crowd. Anna didn't think much of it. Finding the Duke and the young master was her priority. Suddenly, the princess and the crown prince burst into the ballroom with a group of guards surrounding everyone. The princess, smiling radiantly, told the guests not to worry. Her precious necklace, a gift from the crown prince, was missing, and she just wanted everyone's help in finding it. The nobles started whispering. The necklace the princess was talking about was the Star of the Sun, a legendary piece, with a rare maple gemstone, the only one of its kind in the world. Hearing this, Anna had a bad feeling. Why would the princess lose such a rare and valuable necklace on this particular day? She suddenly realized, was the maid who bumped into her part of the princess's plan? Just then, a guard approached Anna and, as expected, found the necklace in her pocket. Anna desperately tried to explain that she didn't steal it, that someone had framed her. At first, a few noblewomen spoke up for her, but once they learned she was a commoner, they all agreed she must have stolen it. It wasn't surprising for a commoner to resort to theft. Princess walked up to Anna, a triumphant smile on her face, and judged her from above. As someone from the ducal manor to do something so shameful, I truly feel sorry for the Duke. The crown prince stepped forward and ordered the guards to take the thief to the dungeons and execute her immediately. A guard grabbed Anna's arm. She cried out that it wasn't her. In the chaos, the Duke's commanding voice boomed from across the room. Since you know she is from the Stuart ducal manor, what exactly do you think you're doing right now? At the same time, the success rate dial above his head dropped to 19%. Anna stared at the dropping success rate above his head, her heart pounding. Although the Duke's arrival had saved her for now, she couldn't let the rate fall any further. The princess frowned. Her plan was about to succeed. How did the Duke get back to the ballroom so soon? At this point, all she could do was insist that Anna had stolen her necklace. She put on a pitiful act and accused Anna. Anna loudly denied stealing anything. But the princess pretended not to hear, saying with a sly tone, "How can a person of such low moral character be allowed to work in the ducal manor?" Anna looked up at the Duke. His expression was cold and unreadable. Did he believe the princess? The onlookers began to whisper, wondering why the Duke would bring a commoner to a banquet, only for her to cause such trouble. Just as Anna's heart sank, thinking no one would stand up for a person of her humble origins, the Duke finally spoke. "You seem to be mistaken. I was the one who found the necklace." His words sent a shockwave through the room. The Duke stepped forward and explained that he had found the princess's necklace, but had a prior engagement with the crown prince and couldn't return it himself, so he had asked Miss Anna to deliver it for him. He turned to Anna for confirmation. "Right?" Realizing the Duke was covering for her, Anna blushed and nodded. The princess tried to say something, but the Duke cut her off. His voice was icy as he asked, "It's a good thing I returned in time. If I had been any later, would this crime have been pinned on the Stuart family?" The Duke emphasized the words Stuart family, making the princess flinch. Standing by, Anna was completely awestruck by the Duke's quick thinking and commanding presence. So this is the aura of a villain. Hearing the Duke's explanation, the onlookers immediately changed their tune, saying that Miss Anna had indeed been looking for someone in the ballroom earlier. She had looked so anxious. She must have been worried about the necklace's safety. The princess was furious at these fair-weather nobles, but couldn't let Anna get away so easily. Just then, the crown prince, who had been silent until now, told the princess that was enough. With her brother's word, the princess couldn't say anything more and had to swallow her anger. She forced a hideous smile and apologized to Anna, even covering her face and feigning distress. What if Miss Anna hates me because of this? Her words left Anna at a loss. This woman was so fake. She had just been trying to have her killed. Thankfully, the Duke answered for her. "You're too kind, Your Highness." Why would she? With the matter resolved, the Duke took Anna's wrist, and using the excuse that the young master needed to rest, left the banquet early. This intimate gesture was witnessed by both the crown prince and the princess. The crown prince smirked, his interest in the mysterious Miss Anna piqued. Sitting in the carriage on the way back to the manor, Anna was filled with anxiety, constantly stealing glances at the Duke. After a long moment, she finally worked up the courage to speak. "Thank you, Your Grace. If it weren't for your help, I would have been arrested today." To her surprise, the Duke turned his head away and said calmly that she was thanking the wrong person. It was the young master Damar who had saved her. It turned out that when the young master was playing in the garden, he saw teacher Anna surrounded by many people, and went to find his father to help her, thus inadvertently saving her from a terrible fate. Learning the truth, Anna was deeply moved, and pulled Damar into a tight hug. "Thank you, Damar." Damar snuggled into her arms and clenched his fists. "It's what a real man should do." Holding the child, Anna thanked the Duke again. "Thank you for believing in me." Even when she couldn't prove her innocence, the Duke had still chosen to believe her. Touched by her sincere gratitude, the Duke's face flushed, and he explained gruffly that he just didn't want the matter to involve the duchy. He suspected that the crown prince had deliberately lured him away, and then failed to show up, likely to buy the princess time. If Damar hadn't arrived when he did, Anna's life would have been in danger. At this thought, the Duke's expression darkened. He warned Anna to be careful of those people. Those nobles, who inherited their titles, thought themselves superior, but in reality, they were rotten to the core. In the Duke's eyes, Anna was more noble than any of them. Now it was Anna's turn to blush. The young master, sitting beside them, raised his hand in agreement and shouted, "Dad's right. Damar likes teacher Anna the most." Then he turned to the Duke. "Dad likes teacher Anna too, right?" The atmosphere in the carriage became wonderfully awkward. The innocent Damar kept asking, "It's true, right, Dad?" When Dad heard teacher Anna was in trouble, his face went all pale. Anna gently pinched Damar's cheek to shush him. But in her heart, she found herself strangely anticipating the Duke's answer. After returning from the royal banquet, Anna's life was heavenly. The Duke not only personally brought her afternoon tea, but also specifically instructed the maids to make her favorite egg tarts. The young master was overjoyed to see the Duke and Anna growing closer and wanted to play matchmaker for them. However, Anna still had something on her mind. She called the Duke out to the balcony and told him everything she had overheard at the banquet. The Duke showed no surprise. He had already figured that what happened at the banquet was not so simple. The princess seemed to be planning something against the young master. Though he didn't know the exact plan, it was definitely not with good intentions. Seeing the Duke so calm, Anna wondered if he had some secret history with the royal family. The Duke explained that the Stuart family had been loyal vassals to the royal family since the founding of the kingdom, but the royal family had always been hostile towards them. In recent years, internal conflicts within the royal family had intensified, and factions wanting to reclaim the Stuart family's power, along with opportunistic nobles, were beginning to show their ugly true colors. But the Duke never expected them to dare to target his son. The Duke thanked Anna for telling him the truth, and the success rate dial above his head rose again to 20%. On the sun-dappled balcony, the Duke praised Anna for doing better than he had ever imagined. Before she came, the young master was completely different. He rarely interacted with outsiders and was always withdrawn, never acting spoiled like other children and being especially quiet in front of strangers. But at the royal banquet yesterday, though the young master was nervous, he didn't back down at all, and even acted bravely to protect Anna. The Duke believed that Damar was trying to open up to the people around him, and it was all thanks to Anna. He took her hand and placed a tender kiss on the back of it. "Will you continue to protect Damar with me?" This proposal-like moment sent Anna's imagination running wild. She blushed and replied, "I do." The moment the words were out, they both realized how it sounded. Anna's face turned beet red. "I mean, I'm willing to continue being Damar's governess." The Duke smiled, gratified, but he didn't let go of her hand. Anna's heart raced, and she stammered an excuse about checking on Damar and fled the scene. Back in the room, the young master called for her to eat dessert with him. Anna's heart was still pounding. She forced herself to calm down. Getting so flustered over a simple hand kiss was just pathetic. The young master offered Anna a piece of egg tart on his fork. The Duke watched this warm scene and smiled with a sigh. Outside, the white roses were in full bloom. The Duke was in a wonderful mood, and the success rate dial soared to 30%. The day after the banquet, Jared began intensive training with Damar. He placed a condensed magic sphere in Damar's hand, and the boy looked up at him with pure admiration. Watching this heartwarming scene, Anna felt a sense of contentment. She was also starting to understand the system's rules. As long as Damar developed in a positive direction, the success rate would rise and vice versa. But sometimes things didn't go as planned. She decided that until she fully understood the rules, she would have to take things one step at a time. The hard-won peace was shattered by the sound of the door banging open. An old white-haired man entered, Viscount Paul. Hearing Jared call him uncle, Anna was shocked, and quickly tried to greet him, only to be ignored once again. She was used to it by now. Viscount Paul began catching up with Jared and Damar as if she wasn't there. "This is Brianna, the governess I hired." After hearing this, the Viscount's expression only darkened. "We haven't received any letters from you recently. We've all been very worried." Jared replied that he had been busy with official duties. "Are you still angry that we forced you to marry Elsie?" "It's quite rude to speak of such things in front of a child," Jared retorted angrily. Elsie was Damar's deceased mother, and the memory was a painful one for Jared, which was why he had lost his temper. "Just say what you came to say," Jared said. The Viscount then confessed that because of the banquet incident, everyone was mocking the Stewart family for associating with a commoner, and some were even trying to interfere with the family's southern business ventures. Only then did Anna realize what a huge trouble she had caused for Jared. Viscount Paul continued, "Keeping this kind of person in the ducal manor is a joke." Just as Jared was about to reprimand him, Damar spoke up first. "I won't let you talk about teacher Anna like that." "See? Even a polite child like Damar is learning to talk back to his elders. You should get rid of her immediately." Anna knew this was just to curry favor with Princess Elena. If leaving would reduce Jared's troubles, she would be willing. But if the system's punishment happened again, she might really die. Anna felt a sense of injustice. She had tried so hard. Why did she still end up in this situation? "I advise you to watch your words, so you can leave this manor on your own 2 feet, the Duke threatened again. Can Anna calm the Duke's anger? Anna was at a loss, unsure if the Duke's anger was because of the insults to her or to Damar. As the Viscount continued his tirade, the success rate kept dropping. Jared rose angrily. "Don't you forget who's in charge of the Stewart family now?" The Viscount instinctively recoiled, afraid of what Jared might do. When Jared mentioned the matter of the casino's dungeons, the Viscount collapsed onto the sofa. How could you know? I took care of that." Jared then brought up the Viscount's embezzlement of family funds. If anyone else found out, he wouldn't just lose his title, he'd lose his life. "I'll pay the money back. Please, spare me." The Viscount immediately fell to his knees and begged for mercy, his status as an elder forgotten. "In that case, you will no longer meddle in other people's family affairs." He then dismissed the Viscount. Anna looked at the furious Jared with concern, while Jared worried that his tone had frightened her. As Jared was thinking about how to reassure her, the departing Viscount mentioned that the old Duke had asked him to deliver a letter. It turned out the old Duke's birthday banquet was in a few days, and Jared's attendance was required. With that, he quickly left. But the feud between them was far from over. As he was leaving, Viscount Paul ran into Ethan and Sophia, who were arriving for their lesson. He rushed past them without a greeting, leaving the two completely bewildered. Anna came out to greet them, and Damar was overjoyed to see them. But Jared seemed to be still caught up in his anger. "Miss Anna, we brought some drinks for you to try," Ethan said, handing one to her. Anna took a sip. "This is delicious." "Glad you like it." Seeing Ethan's sunny smile, Jared fell into a state of self-doubt. How can he smile like that? If I could do that, maybe Anna wouldn't be afraid of me. Sophia then offered a drink to Jared, but he refused, saying he didn't like sweets. On the other side, Ethan handed a drink with a sugar cube in it to Anna. "This one has sugar. Maybe the Duke will like it." Anna then took the drink to Jared. "Your Grace, I made this one specially for you. Please try it." Jared took the drink, still replaying Anna's words in his mind, took a sip and said it wasn't bad. Seeing the two of them acting like a couple, Sophia was consumed with jealousy. Just then, Anna realized a serious problem. The drink she had given the Duke was her own. The one with the sugar cube was in her right hand, but she had given him the one from her left. How will Jared react when he finds out he shared a cup with Anna? And why is Sophia so fixated on Jared?